This just in. Eco-terrorists calling themselves the USA are on the move. Reports say they've taken the land hostage and have been leaving the bodies of nature abused and exposed in poor and colored communities. However, some people are on their toes mobilizing to fight this threat. They're building new tactics and alliances for this age-old battle across the lines. But for all the more, this is business as usual and they're going about their day. For some, they just don't care, and for some, this isn't an issue. In fact, many of them are complicit in the killings but won't admit it. Now what's the problem? The USA has been murdering low-income and minority communities through legally sanctioning disproportionate placement of hazardous waste-producing facilities in their communities. The color of your skin has become the most salient factor in predicting whether you will be the next victim. This murder comes with the anxiety of watching your community get pillaged by these villains. Gasping for air, can't breathe, deformed and defected. The eco-terrorists are forcing these communities to consume the poison and won't let them leave. Either they're invading the communities or forcing the communities to them. The terrorists are still committing the terror. But the people are refusing to stay silent. They're demanding that their rights be taken into account, but the terrorists laugh in their face and mock them. With one hand gripping their throat and the other the law, they claim that your death isn't enough proof that they meant for you to die. And they've gotten away with it again. It's truly frightening. You better pray they don't find out if you're a native of this land they renamed America, else your labor be deemed fit to mine some radioactive elements, and your land be deemed fit to test some nuclear bombs, and your body be deemed fit to test some nuclear radiation, and your mind be deemed unfit to be told how this will affect you, and humanity be deemed unfit to resist in a court of law, and humanity be deemed unfit to be worthy of protection, and humanity be deemed unfit at all. This is indigenous eco-terrorism, indigenous nuclear colonialism, and indigenous nuclear genocide. Stay aware. You wouldn't want to be caught black, brown, red, or poor when a natural disaster strikes. Nature doesn't discriminate, but the way certain groups are protected, shielded, and given aid is racially charged, and you're on the short end of the stick. Terror through natural disaster and failure and refusal to aid. But the terrorists don't just go at it at home. Under the guise of the free market, neoliberal expansion and globalization, they're outsourcing eco-exploitation and eco-terror. Terrorizing. It's not surprising that on the US-Mexico border, it's the Mexican side with high rates of healthcare issues paralleling the high rates of industry waste. Is it a surprise that these industries that lay waste to land and the people refuse to give their workers basic rights and safe working conditions? It's not, but it should be. When exploited Chicana workers and maquiladoras are losing their vision, skin infections, birth defects, trips down cancer alley, all to produce the goods that we take for granted. Then they get fired for slowly dying. Fired for being the victims of maquiladoras and the system, and then fired for trying to organize. The red, white, and blue agreed to this thing called NAFTA, making sure that the products of the labor get through the border, but the labor can't get to the other side. The vessel that produces at its expense is left to rot on the other side of the fence with the waste of industry. Don't play in the water, you might not be able to breathe. Don't play in the water, there's foam and phosphorus. Don't play in the water, you might get electrocuted to death. The community can't breathe to being choked, no joke. What's next? Open up global markets, but make sure that third world countries stay in perpetual debt. Pesticides overkilling workers like bugs. Bare bone wages finishing them off. The exploited third world citizens of our outsourced labor are dying from deficiencies in what they can get from the food that they're growing. Now rewind. Why aren't they eating this food? Rewind. They can't afford what they're growing. Rewind. They don't have access to it. It is being exported to the West because they opened the markets. So deficiencies aren't the problem, but a symptom of neoliberal globalization. GMOs are just infected band-aids on the wound. Farmers are committing suicide because the debts are putting them in tombs and they're buried too deep to leave. So they stay. Suicide is an exit of torturous, exploitative terror. And the terrorist US is dumping its waste on their graves, their land, and in their water. The third world is scavenging through the toxins in our defunct electronic goods and trash. All because the US government, the corporations, and the consumers don't care enough. But that's not all that's happening outside the US. That's just the terror being spread through legal sanctioning, police policy, and expansion. But the terrorists have a military branch to help advance the anti-environmental project. The Pentagon is the largest consumer of oil in the US. People are dying of cancer and diseases wherever there's a US military base. Viejas and the Marshall Islands have been taken from the citizens right in front of their face and destroyed and laid waste along with the health of the citizens, all in the name of freedom. Free doom. The Nazis were human, but it's okay to drop nuclear bombs on the backwards Japanese. 210 deaths in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Justify that. Free doom. 305 tons of depleted uranium in Iraq. Drinking water that is radiated. Justify that. Free doom. 25 million bombs in Vietnam. 19 million gallons of Agent Orange. Still kill and torture the ordinary people. Justify that. All to advance freedom. Free doom military. When the rich wage war, it's the poor that die, but eye for an eye, we will no longer stand it. Counter eco-terrorist organizations under the banner of environmental justice, growing from the grassroots, empowered by the unity, ready to wage war on environmental degradation that disproportionately affects the poor and the people of color. We're here to win and to continue winning like we've been doing at the local, state, national, and global levels. This is bigger than just one struggle. They may be reducing our bodies to rubble, but they will never get to the soul of our justice.